the best two words in all sports, obviously, Game 7. Except in this case, because MLB is MLB, the best two words were Game 5. And if you are a Giants fan, the worst two words in life right now are, he went. Or, if you prefer, yes, he did. The problem is, he didn't. He didn't go, and your team is gone. What a brutal way to end an incredible season. A gut-wrenching way to end an amazing game and an amazing brawl between two alphas. Like, the most tired cliche in sports is to compare everything to a heavyweight fight. So I'm not going to do that. I'm sure somebody else will. But I will say, those weren't just two of the best teams in baseball this year. Those were two of the best teams you're ever going to see. And they were giving each other the hands since opening day until last night. All the way from opening day until last night, these two teams were giving each other them hands. And then that brawl went well into last night. You think these two teams were very evenly matched, the Dodgers and the Giants. 109 wins each, 2-2 in the series. Tied at 1 apiece going to the 9th. You could not separate these teams for the past few months, and you couldn't even do it last night. I've never seen two teams more evenly matched, I don't think, in any sport. And that was as tense a baseball game, or really any sporting event, that you're ever going to see. And the drama did start well before the first pitch because the Dodgers shook things up by announcing that they were going to go with Corey Knebel instead of Julio Urias to start that game. You know what was really interesting, I thought? And obviously, this is a big Dave Roberts house. I love Dave Roberts, and not only am I not going to apologize for it, I'm not going to hide it. I love the guy. I think he's got such a bad and unfair rap. He's a damn good manager. But what was really interesting, I thought, as a matter of courtesy, he actually told his counterpart, Gabe Kapler, that they were going to start Knebel. And you might ask yourself, well, why would that guy do that? Why do I have to? That's the thing. He didn't have to. But I think that he did because he's a class act and because he didn't want to make it seem like he was a D-bag. Like he told everybody, I'm starting the 20-game winner, and then he didn't. He doesn't want to be that guy. Never mind that most people are that guy. But Dave Roberts is different. So the move itself is classy as hell. And let me sidebar really quickly. How many of you bet that game and then sweated out that bet the entire game, only to go online to find your money didn't move because it got canceled because of the pitching change? How many of you had that happen? I know because I saw some people talking about it. They do that. That's not unusual. Anyway, the move itself, as wild as it seems, actually makes some sense. I mean, one, it worked. They won. But when you look at it, you've got a 20-game winner, a guy who's been money in the postseason, ready to go. Yet you're going to sit him and start a reliever who has never started a postseason game ever. I mean, that's brass. That's brass as hell. And although I look at it, and at first I'm like, wow, are you kidding? Are you really going to do that? But then you think about it for 1 minute, and it does make sense. The Giants are not just a great team. The Giants are a great situational team. Gabe Kapler manages that lineup so well. He manages his pitchers so well. He positions the defense so well. In other words, there's a reason why they won 107 games. So if the Dodgers could somehow disrupt that, force them out of their rhythm or comfort zone, and make the Giants make tough decisions about who to start, who to sit, by going with a righty reliever for an inning instead of their lefty starter, maybe the Dodgers get a slight edge, because maybe that's all you need to win a game like that. However, if that boomerangs on them, right? If that doesn't go the way they want to go, that goes really badly for LA. As an example, nobody would question Dave Roberts or the front office or the analytics crew or any of the nerds running their spreadsheets if Urias started last night and got knocked around. But if Knebel comes in and gets lit up, Or if Urias doesn't get the start and then comes on and then gets lit up, then Roberts and company never hear the end of it. They would get annihilated. Everybody would be coming for Dave Roberts all over again. And they would have to listen to how, you thought you were so smart. You made it too complicated. The nerds took over, and they're running the game, and they're ruining the game. Their spreadsheets manage the game instead of their heads. How they didn't have enough confidence in a 106-win team and a 20-game winner and resorted to their gimmicky little nerd bullcrap. Nerds. And I'll tell you what, watching that first inning, it looked like that might happen, right? Gimmicky little nerds. Darren Ruff put a charge into one. Buster Posey drove one off the wall in right for a double. But then Knebel buckles down, he works out, and then that started one of the most tension-packed games ever. I mean, nothing lives up to the hype, but that game did. See, that's the thing about October. When it's good, it's great. Because every single pitch, every single swing, hate to say it, Giants fans, even every non-swing matters. And I'll get to more of that later on, because while the Dodgers were going stat head with their pitching, the Giants, man, they kept it simple. They did what they do. You send Logan Webb to the mound, and you don't worry about a damn thing, because he was dominating nearly every spot in that lineup. That dude is a stud, straight up workhorse. All he does is pound 3 Red Bulls before the game and then pound the strike zone during the game. Respect. As Cody Bellinger said after the game, well, you know what? Probably best if I leave what Cody Bellinger said after the game alone. Because frankly, I really don't trust any of you with that. Anyway, I say that Webb dominated nearly every spot in that lineup. Nearly every spot except for one spot. The one guy he could not get out was Mookie Betts. You want to talk about a stud? It's exactly what Mookie Betts is. As much as I love, or as much love and respect as this guy gets, it's still not enough. It just isn't. At one point, he was 3 for 3, while the rest of the team was 0 for 15. And on a night when nobody could touch Webb, Betts did. MFB. Mookie freaking Betts. And that's not all. Then my man went right to work. Then Corey Seager comes through. Mookie Betts going old school with it. Get to first. Steal second, go in head first, score on the next, knock. Like I said, that was some Dave Roberts bleep right there. And that was the only way the Dodgers were going to get to Logan Webb, because even when it looked like they had him on the ropes, this guy comes right back with a K and a fly out. And you knew there was no way the Giants weren't going to respond. Since April, every single time the Dodgers did anything at all, the Giants responded. And then they did so with the first batter of the bottom of the 6th. Didn't you know, as good as Urias is, when that guy got in the box last night, I thought to myself, man, dude, this guy's story, his journey, his backstory, and then most of all, look at the guy. Like, I never want to indict somebody physically, but look at this dude. And the first chance the Giants got to tie the game, they did. And that doesn't just sum up that game. That pretty much sums up who they are. That sums up the entire season. This is who they are. This is where they live. This is what the Giants do. And that's how you win 107 games. Of course they were going to come back. Of course that game was going to be tied going into the 9th. There was no way it wouldn't have been, and that rivalry deserved it. So then Justin Turner gets on via hit pitch or hit by pitch. In baseball, if you know anything at all, you know a closer cannot give away bases like that. You have to make sure you have to make sure hitters earn that bag, or you're going to pay a price. And then the Giants did 2 batters later. The fact that it was Cody Bellinger that came through is pretty damn remarkable. Like, if I had told you at the end of last season that Cody Bellinger would have the biggest hit of this season, you would not have been surprised. But if I had told you at any point during this season that he'd have the biggest hit of the season, you probably would have punched me in the face. I mean, this dude's been banged the hell up. He's been banged up, jacked up, couldn't even hit his own weight this season. And yet, somehow, some way, this guy comes through when they needed it most. And then, who do you think comes out of the bully to close it all out? None other than one Maxwell M. Scherzer. Start the game with a reliever, close it with a starter, because there was no way you were keeping that guy out of the game last night. He was practically running onto the field before the Dodgers made their third out. This guy was amped out of his mind. I'm not sure who was more amped for that moment. Dodger pitcher Max Scherzer or first base umpire Gabe Morales. As always, if you know the name of an ump, that's never a good thing. If you know the name of a first base ump, that's really never a good thing. Old schoolers shouting Don Dankinger or Jim Joyce cannot believe that Gabe Morales did what he did last night, because my man was fired up and ready to jump right into the fray, which is exactly what he did with 2 outs and 2 strikes. Dodger fan, I'm not expecting you to give that back. I guarantee almost every last one of you watching that screamed, "Yes, he did!" And then when you saw the replay, you had to have been like, yeah, no, he didn't. But in a season of terrible calls by umpires, that was the absolute worst. Like, you can't make that call there. Not because it's 2 outs and 2 strikes in the bottom of the 9th, but because it's the wrong call. Wilmer Flores did not go, but the guy standing about 100 feet away from him said that he did. So the game is over, the series is over, and the Giants' season is over. Way to rip the moment, Blue. Way to steal the spotlight and make it about you when nobody was asking for that at all. Like the most MLB thing ever. How very baseball of them. End an amazing season and series with a terrible call. And it's so baseball that they have reviews for certain calls, but you can't review that call. I mean, how many cameras do they have at a game? You've got a legion of cameras. And why? To make sure that that doesn't happen. Instead of using all those cameras, or even one of them, they let some dude standing 30 yards away eyeball it. And that's what it took to end this battle between these two amazing teams. One amazingly bad call. That's the difference between these two teams. An incredible fight over the entire season, and then a brutal way to have it end the worst way possible. I mean, they'd probably still be out there playing right now.